Janitorial Manager presents the Business of Cleaning podcast, the podcast that brings you the information you need to be successful in the cleaning industry. The Business of Cleaning podcast provides in-depth interviews with successful personalities from the commercial cleaning industry, as well as discussing the trending topics that matter to you and your organization.
Welcome into the Business of Cleaning podcast, your number one source for information on the commercial cleaning industry. We release new episodes monthly live from the Janitorial Manager Studio located in Toledo, Ohio. I'm Tim Clegg, the Marketing Communications Specialist here at AA Solutions and your host of the Business of Cleaning podcast. We have a very special guest today as we welcome in the Director of the Academy of Cleaning of Excellence, Dave Thompson. 50 years of experience in the commercial cleaning industry, and he has been in every role and every position, and we'll talk about that. So glad to have you on the show. What's the weather like in sunny Orlando, Florida this morning on this Monday?
Very sunny, hot, and humid, as it always is in May.
Yes. Kind of the theme right now. Finally, we had a record month of rain here in the Midwest, and now had to flip on the AC yesterday because it is in the 90s as well here. But Dave, your journey started as a very, very young man, 1971, with a call to the principal's office. And I imagine you're thinking, what did I do now? What do you recall most from getting that call, being paged down to the principal's office at that time?
Well, I was in class at the time, and it probably wasn't one of my better classes, and I was glad to get out of class. But getting called to the principal's office over the intercom is usually not the right way.
And when you get there, you find out that the school custodian was going to be out for some time, and you actually had the keys, bringing him to the office, and that conversation went from just that, a conversation, to you being the one as a student in school taking care of his responsibilities. Was that your first introduction into the industry? And what do you recall? I mean, a young man having kind of those responsibilities, kind of being thrown to the wolves, so to speak.
Well, I wasn't the popular kid, in the school. Matter of fact, I was kind of the butt of a bunch of jokes because I wasn't very aggressive. So, the thing is, I don't remember exactly, Tim, how I came to know why I did. I do remember that school, the heat was driven by a coal furnace. And so I had helped the custodian shovel coal into the coal bin and everything. And somewhere along the line, I guess I, became friends with him. I don't really know for sure. I mean, how do you know these things? How do you get started? I've tried to remember, but it just wasn't there. But nonetheless, I became popular because I'm the only kid that had keys to the school building, could get anywhere I wanted to. And, I quickly learned that there's also a responsibility that comes with that. And so, whenever somebody says, "Oh, I'm a janitor, I'm a custodian," I said, "Yeah, well, you have responsibility that goes along with that." So it's a very important position. Now, how did I know how to do cleaning? I don't know. But, years later, my wife didn't believe that story. And we actually went back there. We were on a motorcycle trip. We went there. It was a summer. I walked underneath the wood bleachers that were still there, reached up, turned on the light, grabbed the dust mop, and turned around and looked at her, and she was white as a ghost.
She tried calling you on your bluff, and you were spot on, my friend.
It was still in the same place. Everything was right. And, it was just an automatic thing. It was there. It's the way it should have been. And that was, well, we won't talk about how many years later that was.
And you have worked in every sector, every part, starting as a frontline worker, transitioned to sales, owning your own business, now as a consultant, a teacher. How have all these experiences during your journey helped you understand each of those roles, their importance to what you're currently doing?
I think that's one of the interesting things about careers. We don't really plan most of them. There are a series of things that happen And as they happen, they fit. But I will say that I kind of had a method to the madness, if you will. Sometimes I can guarantee it definitely was madness. But I did. I went from, you know, doing that, cleaning along with, hey, a full-time job. And I soon realized that the full-time job was not making the money that my part-time job was. My dad happened to be a councilman at the local city. And he said, well, City Hall needs to be cleaned. The contract's coming up. So I had to start up a business in order to get the contract. And I quit my full-time job, started doing that. And then another gentleman came along and said, hey, I'd like for you to run my company. Well, I won't tell you all of the bad things that happened, but let's say the good thing is I learned a whole lot in the next 4 years. And then I said, well, I need to change. And I did something that most people would never actually think of doing. I left Tulsa and went to St. Louis. Never been there before in my life, didn't know anything. So you're looking at a city like St. Louis. How do you find a job? So I went and interviewed janitorial supply houses. Now, it's not something that normally people would do for to find a job. I went and interviewed them. And the whole idea was I went in and said, I'm a cleaning contractor. I'm just coming into town. And the one that treated me the best, I went back to them and said, I need a sales job with you. Well, 2 companies later and 35 years of selling janitorial supplies in the Missouri, rural area of Missouri, I got the opportunity to move down here to Florida and then take all of that knowledge, all of that skill, all of the, working hand in glove with end users, all of that, and then go into what my passion was, and that's helping people. And I do it continually now through, hey, it was interesting. One guy said the other day, he said, Professor Dave.
Was that the first time, or what's it feel like too to kind of, be called that? Did it kind of take you back a little bit by surprise?
No, I won't say it did, but it was, there's been many people along the path that have said that in joke and in jest and, and you're having fun with it. But I guess that was the first time the guy just first walked up. He never met me before. And that was his first Professor Dave. And so, I guess now I have a moniker that I put up, and I'm a custodial professor. When somebody says, who are you? What do you do? I'm a custodial professor now.
And you have a great analogy watching you speak at conferences online that you came up with about commercial cleaning workers relating to bees. Can you go ahead and share that analogy with us? Because it did stop me dead in my tracks thinking about it, analyzing it, and really it was spot on.
Well, the thing about it is, there's a lot of little things in our world that we don't give credit to. And when it comes to food, which of course, everybody needs food. I don't care what nationality, what planet, part of the planet you're on, but it's bees. Without bees, there is no food.
Absolutely.
And everybody goes, well, I'm a vegetarian, I'm vegan, or I believe in beef or whatever. I don't care. None of that, including ourselves, can survive without bees. And so what I do is I think about this, and I have a good friend in the industry that, says a few different things. And I think we all repurpose things, don't we? Don't we, Tim?
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Every day.
Yes. And one of the things that him and I have always agreed on is that we are the frontline defenders of health. Mm-hmm. We are truly the frontline defenders of health. Did I say that right? I want to make sure that everybody understands that, because without us, the hospitals, the clinics could not keep up with the influx of sick people. We protect the health of people, and we're not seen. Like bees, we go about our job, we do what we need to do, but without us, the world would not survive.
Think about that. That's really deep. And your passion comes through because this topic in particular is so dear to you, because working in the industry, especially as a frontline worker during your time, you developed asthma, acute asthma at a very young age, and that's stuck with you and affected your day-to-day life.
Well, Tim, the worst part of that is, I mean, yes, I did it to myself. And this was in the 80s when we were running our floor care business. We did over 50 Walmarts in the state of Oklahoma at the time. And we'd put down chemical stripper to strip the floors. And then we would run to the back of the building because we couldn't breathe. We'd have to wait for a while. And folks, I got to tell you, that was back in the day when they locked you in the building. You locked it. You were locked in at 10 o'clock at night. They let you out at 7 o'clock in the morning. So you're talking about, these are 10-hour nights of breathing all of these fumes from the stripper. Now, as I'm saying this, just to show you how old I am, OSHA was only 5 years old. So nobody really knew what was actually happening to us. There was, you have OSHA, you have people that understand these things now. In those days, we didn't. We were, and I have been, the guinea pig.
Oh.
Unfortunately, Tim, the worst part of that story, I have 50 people that depended on me, and I was the owner, and I told them what to do. And what I did to my health, I am sure that I did it to them. And it's something that weighs heavy on my chest every day.
And that's where the passion comes from, especially in this particular topic. And we're going to get into employees and why they're the number one priority. We're going to get in that here a little bit later. During our conversation, something so simple as a company's reputation goes a long way in determining whether you're successful or you're closing the doors very quickly in the industry. What specific factors, Dave, contribute to helping you build and maintaining? That's the most important part. Once you've established that reputation, it's being able to maintain that positive reputation in the commercial cleaning industry. What are some of your key strategies that you've seen and developed during your tenure?
Well, I think the thing about it is, hey, I mean, we're in, the year's 2024. Come on. If you don't have a website, you're not a viable business anymore. It's just kind of the way it is. Back in my day, you had to have yellow pages. You had to have an ad in the yellow pages, The bigger the ad in the yellow pages, the more that you were a business. So it's one thing to say stuff, and I teach this in class all the time. They know you're a cleaning business. Don't say you wash windows. Don't say you clean toilets. That's the reason they came to you in the first place. Tell them what they want to hear. Well, we make your place look beautiful. Come on. Everybody knows you do that.
Right.
What's the real thing? What's the thing? And I think you said that, what's the passion that drives your business that makes you different from the other cleaner companies in the world? And I think the thing is, you have to realize here is we're in the service business. Anybody that's in the service business listening to me today, I think will agree, if you don't have the people, you don't have a business. So really what it is that keeps people employed and keeps your reputation is how those people feel about your company.
And they're the ones too, that the employees that are seen every day at these sites, the interactions they have on site with the customer, building that trust, building that relationship, because they're the ones that are there every day, numerous times through the week. So building that rapport and building that trust is vital.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, without them, I mean, they're the frontline people. They're not just your frontline cleaners that do the work. They are your face of your company. You're just in the background. You're just, as an entrepreneur, you're just the one that pulls the strings and makes all these things will happen. Without you, it wouldn't exist. I understand that. I get it. But without them, you have no business because you can only do so much. And I think that's where most entrepreneurs get caught because they start, like any cleaning business, Tim, we all start small. We're doing it ourselves. We're doing everything. We're doing the books. We're doing all of it. At some point, we got to step back and let them do it. But we don't realize they're more important than you.
Yes, they are. And it's really a simple concept that a lot of people forget about. I want to ask you, while we're on the conversation of reputation, let's do a little role play. A company's really just struggled. What steps should they take responding effectively and efficiently to a negative reputation or negative reviews? How important is it to get out in front of that and try and really turn that around quickly, especially if you are in a competitive market?
Well, negative reviews demand your attention. They don't go away.
Absolutely.
I think here's one of the things that I was taught at a very, very early age. I was working in a 24-hour grocery store, and the manager came in in the morning to review our work from the night. And he grabbed me by the ear and he hauled me to the back of the store. Now, this was in front of my employees, and I'm like, this was embarrassing.
Wow.
But I was younger, he was older. I was taught to respect my elders. And apparently he had a mission and he had something I needed to learn. And boy, did I learn it. Oh man, I still remember it today, and it had to be well over 40 years ago.
Wow. What was the lesson?
Yeah, right. What was the lesson that you still remember after 40 years? He pointed to some milk in the cooler there. He said, when a lady walks out of here with a bad gallon of milk, if she talks to me and gives me a chance, I'll make it right. I'll pay attention. But when she leaves and it's bad and she never says anything to me, I don't have a chance to make it right, because what she's going to say is more important to everybody else than what I have to say. And so he said, I'm giving you the opportunity here to correct something so that I don't give you a bad reputation. I've never forgot it my entire life. Reputation, when you're in the cleaning industry, is what do those people out there every night that people see and the performance that they give. I mean, what they do speaks almost louder than what they say. It'll speak volumes, but that's the problem with entrepreneurs in the cleaning industry. We don't listen because we're not paying attention to the people. I hear this all the time. Oh, we can't send them in for a class. We're too busy. We lost this many employees. We're getting some more. The problem is they're focusing on the wrong thing. They're focusing on the cleaning and not the people.
Yeah, and without the people, the business goes away. You shut the doors very quickly. Safety protocol. How does a cleaning company's reputation for safety protocols and compliance with regulations now more than ever affect its relationship with clients who are now also more aware of safety protocols since 2020? How is that relationship? Have you seen that develop in the last 4.5 years now?
We have millions of infection prevention experts on the world now, don't we?
Yes, we do.
We listened to Dr. Fauci for how many months in a row? The thing about it is people think they know something. And this is the problem with our industry as a whole. I will just say it that way. I'm not saying everybody in the industry. Don't get me wrong, folks. I'm not trying to talk to you particularly. But I hear this all the time. I see it every time in class when students come in here to class. We think we know, but where did we actually learn what to do? Did we actually learn the safety protocols? No. I didn't learn those. I just did. Mm-hmm. And so the thing is who are we learning from? Somebody that really knows these safety protocols, or somebody that saw some advertising and thought it was a great thing? I mean, I know I'm going to step on some toes here, but this misleading information about this wonderful disinfection device called an electrostatic sprayer was the biggest farce there was in the cleaning industry over the last few years. Because it's not a disinfection device. It's simply an application of a disinfectant. But marketing and money and all of this got involved. And so now today, what are we left with? We're left with people that were misled. They believed 100%. And so now are the safety protocols that they're talking about correct? And this is why continuing education from a professional source like ours here, I'm a third-party certification organization. I have no responsibilities to anybody except for the health of the frontline worker. That is the only thing I'm here for. If I protect their health, I protect everybody else's health. So, learn from somebody that actually has skin in the game, actually taking care of health. And I guarantee you, with COPD now and $700 a month for one medication, I can guarantee you, I do know.
And you led right in my next topic, which is certification. In today's industry, certification is vital. I can't express it enough.
I wish everybody thought that, though, Tim. They don't.
Can you break down, Dave, what certifications you recommend having, and how has it now become a not only must-have but a basic necessity for cleaners and companies?
Well, I think the thing about it is anybody can put up a certification on their website. I have a certificate that says this. And, I have people that call us here at the academy and go, hey, these people have a certificate from you. I'm great. I'm very grateful that they called us and gave us an opportunity to talk with them about it. But it doesn't certify performance. It certifies their ability and their knowledge. And I think that's where, when you're looking for a certification, what type of a certification and what is the reality of what you're going to do with that? Mm-hmm. Do you want it just for a piece of paper or a shingle to hang on your website? Or do you want it to actually set apart safety protocols and processes? I think it's interesting how people walk in and they have these cell phones, right? This isn't a cell phone. This is a $1,400 computer that's in your hand and is almost in the hand of almost every frontline technician. But yet, when it comes to the equipment and the tools and the processes, they haven't changed them in 20, 30, 50, 80 years. Folks, it's time to wake up. Certifications today need to focus on advancement. They need to focus on using new technology. I was listening to the History Channel the other night, and they're the foods that built America, the cars that built America. And if anybody's moving forward, they're using technology. They're not using the same technology that they did 80 years before.
Yeah.
I think that's where cleaning companies today need to look for the certifications that move them forward using current processes and technology. Some of it is very, very basic, but I'll tell you this, Tim, there's probably not one class in a month that I teach that hasn't changed from the previous month. That's progressive certification.
And what are the differences, especially there's various niches across the industry, such as cleaning for healthcare facilities, food service establishments. How do certifications vary across the board for those specific niches in general?
I'm not a big fan of niche certifications. I'm really not, until somebody understands the basic principles. I mean, I ask somebody when they come into class, would you please define me clean? You would think that's a very basic, simple question, but I get all kinds of answers. And the problem is we don't understand what clean means. It's not using a disinfectant. It's not what you use. It's what's the outcome. Mm-hmm. It's the result of what you're doing. And so before we can get into these niches, we need to understand what the basics are. I mean, people don't understand what the pH of a product means and what its result and its impact on your health is. So how can I, as a healthcare worker, back to your niche, in a healthcare establishment, how can I understand the protocols and the severity of and the protocols I need to follow if I don't understand the basics first? And so much of the time we're concerned with certifying us for a healthcare operation. I see that quite often, but we don't understand what the basics are. And so this is why we have onboarding programs. Many cleaners go out every day and do not understand the basics because we take no time for them to understand. So this first certification I'm going to tell Tim is they have to have the basic understanding.
Yeah.
And this isn't something that usually the cleaning contractor or the in-house operation is really qualified to provide because they don't have it.
Yeah, it's hard to train somebody when you don't even have that certification yourself. Wow.
Right. Absolutely. We don't even understand that. I ask business owners that come in here for my master's class, the first question the first day, define clean. Give me a process that you have to do this job. They've got 400 employees and they don't have a process of how to do the job. That tells me that as big as that organization is, that they're lacking in a process. So what is not being done? They don't even have the basic understanding. It's all about, well, we went out and did the job. Customer was happy. We moved on. And that's all we have the time for.
And you just mentioned something important factor right there. Time. Well, we don't have time for it. Well, you got to make time for it.
So the thing about it is do you know what the average cost of retraining and rehiring and putting another person in a place that just left?
I did see some numbers. It's bringing in a new employee is around, I want to say $2,500, $3,000.
You better get with the program, my friend. It's a whole lot more than that. To bring in somebody and replace them. Now remember, when you bring on somebody, you're replacing somebody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now you're going to replace them with this person, and you got to bring them up to speed just to where the person was whenever they left. And then hopefully you'll retain them, so you don't have to continue to do that over again. $30,000. Just
for one. That's one person. Imagine a company that's struggling and let's say goes through this cycle 5, 10 times a year.
So, well, yeah, I mean, I know some cleaning operations, and I'm talking to folks here, not just contractors. I'm talking in-house as well, that have 100% turnover in a year. What is that costing?
Yeah.
And I love I see a lot of things, right? We're all on LinkedIn and we follow all the media, right? How much they don't have the time because we're so busy trying to put another person in to replace the last person, and I love the fact that people come and say, well, you know what, if I train them, then, what happens when they leave? Well, what happens if they stay?
Exactly.
And that's the problem that happens. Whenever you don't have, I think it's interesting as I look at it, some of our courses here, average course is $200. Just think about it. You're going to bring this person on, nothing about them other than they say they can clean, and you haven't tested them, you haven't done anything, and you're going to give them the keys to this building, and you're giving them thousands of dollars of tools, and you can't spend $200 to train them. That shows where our passion lies, and it's not with the person.
It's putting that business in front of number one, which are your employees. Dave, one thing I've gathered from speaking with you is you are very passionate, very involved with our youth, and have worked with them a lot during the course of your career, shedding the light with them on what the industry does. Where did that passion for our youth come from for you?
Well, as I've aged through my career, I've been able to go to some different schools and look at how are you going to, have you as a cleaner, as an entrepreneur that's listening today, have you ever went to the local school and been part of career day? I have.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just think about how are you going to go to career day for a bunch of sixth graders and make cleaning exciting. You're not going to do it by using a spray bottle and a rag.
Right.
Okay. So think about this. If this is what you're doing for your current employees, how are you making it engaging? How are you making it fun? You got to think outside the box. And I guarantee you, the youth will push you in your mental boundaries. So what did I do? I used technology. That's where our youth lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
And who's putting them there? The adults are putting them into technology. They're using technology. So if you're not using technology, you are not inspiring the people that are there. And as I've grown older in my career, hey, I got to realize that there's going to be someday that somebody's going to take care of me, and they're not going to be my age. They're going to be younger.
Right.
So who do I want to help? I want to help the younger people so that when I get to that point and need it, I need the right kind of help, Tim.
And that goes hand in hand with the aging workforce overall in this industry, average age in the mid 50s, 55, 56-ish. So what you're doing is creating opportunities for that next generation of cleaners. What steps, can be taken that you've seen to attract youth to fill these essential roles, whether it's as a frontline worker, whether it's getting management experience, maybe being a manager, maybe being a business owner, ensuring that, the sustainable future of the industry is in good hands. Because that's, you hear the phrase at any job or even a coach, I want to leave this business, I want to leave that position better than what I found it in.
Well, I think any of us that have stayed around the career as long as I have feels that same way. We want to leave a good legacy to it. And when we're in our younger days in the career, we don't want to give any thought to that, for obvious reasons, right? But I will say, it's how are you going to leave that? I had one of my customers ask me, who's going to replace you when you're gone? It makes you stop and think. What are you doing now that will continue after you leave this career? Well, I want that message to be, it is, always has been, and will always be, no matter what the results are of what we do. There isn't only one thing that is valuable to every person on the planet. And we have to recognize that. It's our health.
Yeah.
COVID did that for us in big ways, good, bad, and indifferent. But if there's any one thing that we need to take out of that, it's that health is the number one thing. Of course, I've always realized that because of the exposures and the roughness I've had from my health. And probably you hear me talk in spurts. That's because it's hard for me to breathe, even still here today. That being said, what we need to do is to focus on this one thing. How am I going to, as the guy said, a professor of cleaning now, profess the right thing? And what is that? To take care of your health. So a professor that I learned from gave me a great clue one time. And he said, are you having trouble keeping your people engaged in class? I said, yes. He said, you need to use Kahoot. Build games.
Yep.
And put it in there. And it changed the dynamics totally. I use it all the time. I use it in conferences where I go. During COVID, I was using it on Zoom calls like this with 100 students on it at one time. Yes, it was a challenge for me. I'm an old guy. I don't know how to use all of this. But I've taken that and, now after 8 years of podcasting, of my own podcast, and ones like with you here, Tim, these are things that I do to bring technology in. Whenever COVID hit, we had a studio already built. We had the cameras, we had the TV, we had the connections. We were already practiced in it. I mean, when everything shut down, we were going. We were ready the next day. We were ready when it happened. What are you going to be ready for when the next thing happens? And I think as an entrepreneur, if you're listening to this, this is your job. How are you going to take your operation and move it forward. You have to understand it's about those people. How do they learn? I did one the other day. It's called generational communication. We are dealing with 5 different generations of people in the cleaning industry. And you darn well better know how to communicate with all of them effectively and be able to navigate between them, or you're missing the big thing. And I think this is back to that person that's shoveling people in and shoveling them out. Now, training and certification is the last thing on the list. It's the afterthought.
Right.
Folks, that needs to be the first thought.
You raised a tremendous point there, Dave, about the 5 generations. That just kind of made me stop and think, because each generation, as you've figured out in your classes, your travels, how I communicate with somebody my age, totally different than somebody 5-10 years younger than me, somebody 5-10 20 years older than me, and knowing how to efficiently and effectively communicate, because what is in message A to the younger generation, if I try relaying that same message, the translation is going to be lost into that older generation. So that's a vital point.
The thing is if you look at what people call quality control surveys, and there's all kinds of different words for these online apps to use to verify that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing and everything. And, I completely turn it upside down. Most generations don't want to be beat over the head about what they're doing wrong. I will tell you, folks, if you're listening in my voice today, everybody knows what they're doing wrong. You don't have to tell them. What you do have to tell them is what they're doing right.
Right.
So if you would use your survey program, whatever it is that you have, as a reward program, just think of this. Will you get more reward if you keep rewarding people? Or do you not get rewards when you keep beating them over the head about what they did wrong? You know what? You're going to get the old saying, you reap what you sow.
100%.
If you sow reward and you sow positive, you're going to get more of that. So whenever you're looking at your frontline workers, how do we maintain keeping them employed? It's through engagement. And I guarantee you, whenever I started using Kahoot, there isn't hardly a generation today that doesn't carry one of these. We're all using them. So when I start one of my presentations, you mentioned at a conference, in the first 1 minute, I tell everybody to take it out. Oh, people don't want to take it out. They're afraid they're going to get hit with, it's something bad. I say, take it out, turn it on. We're going to use it. You take away the negative.
Yeah.
And now what do you get? You get the positive. Folks, if you will do this with your people, you will start getting them to engage and to listen and to be a part of. And I've done this in the crowds of 300 custodians in a whole auditorium. It's great to see. Oh, there's the people that sit back and they're not going to do it. I'm not going to do that. By about the third question, everybody's trying to figure out how to do it. So you might only have 50 to start for the first question. But by the time you get through it, probably 2/3 of that 300 are engaged with you and a part of you. By the time you play the second Kahoot during the presentation, everybody's there. It's a wonderful thing. And you build that positive, and you can't help but have fun. The passion just comes through. You enjoy it.
We're talking with Dave Thompson, director of the Academy of Cleaning Excellence, and over 50 years in the commercial cleaning industry. And you're very knowledgeable at technology and staying ahead of the curve. I know you said, well, for an old guy like me, but speaking with you, you know what's going on, first of all, and you're one step ahead of the game. And technology in this industry, obviously right now, the big thing the last year and a half, 2 years, everything AI. It's a never-ending learning experience with technology. One of the resource companies are starting to get more involved with, obviously, ChatGPT, but you're going one step further, Dave. You are leaping literally into the metaverse for a new interactive way of learning. How will this change the way things are done in the industry? for not only education, for certification, but for even you look at the training aspect, because you and I talk, like come from a racing background. The motorsport simulators they have nowadays, I feel like it's just a matter of time before there's a setup similar to that, but being trained on how to run a specific piece of equipment for the commercial cleaning industry.
Well, there's a whole lot in what you just said there,
Yes.
Tim, and thank you for paying attention. And yes, you're right. We have already, folks here at the Academy, we have jumped into the metaverse. So if you go to our website, you will find that you can jump into the metaverse right now. You can do it through your phone, your laptop, your desktop computer, or VR if you want. And you can actually stroll through the gallery of courses. So just like you would walk into an art gallery, Tim, you can walk through the gallery, look at the pictures on the wall, click on them. They usually have a video. And if you're interested, you can actually go to the link and go right to the course. There's nobody else in our industry that I know of right here while we're broadcasting this today that is doing this. Today, that's not changing anything. There's nobody really using it. I have a few people here and there. Is it making a big splash? No. But just like with every other technology, the people that are operating it have to learn. And I think that's where I'm at right now. I have to learn what a lot of the youngsters know already. They're already there. This is where they live. So back to the youth. If we in the cleaning industry are going to bring the youth into this industry, wake up, get with it. This is where they're at. Now, to your simulator. That's even jumping way further than where I'm at, just talking to Metaverse. So tomorrow, Tim, just as we're happen to be taping this, tomorrow I have another lecture in my lecture hall in the Metaverse. I have already people from the Netherlands, from Chile, from Argentina, from Hawaii, several people from the United States are all joining into the lecture hall. And it works just like a lecture hall. If you went to a conference, everybody sits in their chair, you listen to the lecture, you can raise your hand, I can talk with you, we can have questions. But all of these people, so what is the metaverse? The metaverse is simply an artificial universe outside the one you're sitting in right now today. That's all it is.
Yep.
Zoom, StreamYard, all of our streaming is simply a step towards that. Absolutely. And here, folks, I want to tell you also while you're listening to this, it has nothing to do with the Facebook Meta. That just was an after. Metaverse was long before that came about. So don't be misguided here that the two are the same. They are not. And so what did I have to do, Tim? I spent 2 years learning about the metaverse so that I could put together my gallery of courses, so I could put together the lecture hall. What has that taught me? A whole lot of things. And I can use those in my classes because the person from the Netherlands I talked with just before we got on here, he says, I can't come to Orlando. How can I learn from you? How can I get a certification? Join us in the lecture hall tomorrow. We'll talk about it.
It's gonna change the way things are done, and it already is starting to happen. Dave, when you first learned about this, what immediately went off and triggered this movement in your head? What did you learn to say, you know what? We have a chance to do something big, do something that hasn't been done, and I'm going to have to work at it, but I think it's something that's really going to change the way training and certifications and just education in the industry. When did you put all those pieces to the puzzle?
Well, the thing about it is I, as a professor, am providing the education, putting the curriculum together. I have to learn too. I have to continually be looking and searching And I think that's part of just being a good business person. You have to do that. So what do I know? I also know that there is a company in England that has put together, I should not say England, I think they're Germany actually. And they put together glasses that you're going to be able to wear. That as you do it, it'll quality check, and the glasses will tell you you haven't done it right, or you need to do this. All of this stuff, this AI that you mentioned, Tim, is coming out. You just need to be there. And the problem with the cleaning industry, as you probably know, we're very, very, very slow to adapt anything change. I mean, you would think that, well, we're still trying to get people to quit using a sloppy, dirty, filthy, nasty, ugly mop. You know, we can't get them to change that. Now, hey, folks, I know some of you said, oh, I'm using microfiber, and thank you very much. But, you know, why are we still having to tell people to change these things? Because this is the way humans work. Change is hard. So what am I having to do? I needed to learn what is going on because my learners have life that's happening. You know, the thing that you have to understand here is we're teaching adults. When they walk into my classroom, life is going on in more ways than I even have any idea. I have to be forward thinking. I have to be doing something different. I can't be just talking about how to mop a floor or how to clean a toilet. There has to be something real, more tangible than that. And when you can bring more technology in, this inspires people to be a part of, because it's not the same thing. So if your training programs, which skills training and knowledge are two different things, folks, they're totally different. They have to understand why they're doing. And this is the underlying thing of everything I do, Tim. We are not getting people to understand why. Why am I in the metaverse? Because I need to be able to put somebody on a $16,000 riding auto scrubber to learn that machine and everything about it and how to use it before I ever want to give them the key to actually run on the physical unit. That's where we need to go. But you know, we're slow to get there. So I got to get them into that metaverse on their computer, their laptop, where they live right now, before I could ever get them to go to that simulator.
Another great tool, I think, too, with this, you mentioned life. Everybody's situation is different. And,
Oh, yeah.
you know, I like giving people the freedom to select what courses they think are going to be beneficial for them, their certifications, but being able to go at their own pace rather than, oh man, I've got to get this done in a month or something like that. Just using that time frame as an example, but being able to develop and learn at your own pace instead of feeling pressure sometimes like you do the traditional route.
And I think that's the thing is the gentleman from the Netherlands this morning, he says, I need floor care certification. That was the way he started the conversation. I said, which one? Stone, VCT, LV, carpet? He goes, all of them. I go, they're individual classes. Many organizations that are in the same sphere as what I do lump everything together. And the problem is that learners can't learn everything together. They came to us for a reason because they don't have the knowledge. If what you're providing to them really has a lot of value and it's different and we're involving them, at least I feel that frontline learner needs to learn things in small bites. I mean, think of it. I mean, does anybody watch a YouTube video for longer than 2 minutes?
Not anymore.
I mean, look even at TV. Everything is broken down into clips. We watch a little bit and then we get away from it. Then we watch a little bit, we get away from it. Folks, you got to understand how people learn. This isn't cramming something into them so that I can say, oh, we did it, and then watch them struggle through a test, because that's not learning. That's just simply getting a certification. And I think that's where I differ from some of the other certification programs I break out everything so that you can take it as your life will let you absorb the information.
You mentioned industry being a little bit slow to change just because what has always worked in the past, well, it leads me to an old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
But it's been broke.
Right. How can you use this to introduce them to kind of show them this is not only here and now, but will be here for the future to get them pointed in the right direction and adapt.
Well, that's why we're doing the deal in the metaverse. Those that want to come in and give it a shot can learn. And all of the lectures in the metaverse are going to be free. They're going to be about an hour long, introductory type information. So you can learn a whole lot of things, and we're going to have fun with it. I mean, the one we did last month, the person ran around the room, couldn't find a seat, couldn't figure out how to get there. Okay. But they were there. They were in the room. They just, okay, it'll take some time, but that's part of learning.
Mm-hmm.
That's learning a skill as well as how to clean. Yes, folks, if you're listening to this, I can guarantee the first time I went into here to the metaverse, I was lost. I guarantee I'm still not proficient in everything, but I'm learning. And that's what we're talking about. Learning is finding out why. You have to understand why we're there to begin with. We're there to learn. It's not to get the end result. It'll take us some time. So I think the thing here is whenever you're learning a skill, I say this about somebody that wanted to get in the metaverse. He goes, well, how to do it? I said, what's been your introduction to it? And the first thing everybody thinks of is, oh, I seen that commercial with, they had the VR and they were running into the TV and all that. I said,
Right.
no. That is VR in the metaverse. But you can use the metaverse from your computer. Never get out of your chair. Use your mouse just like you do now. So that's where we're at, because we have to, if you will, crawl before we can walk,
Right.
walk before we can run. Eventually, yes, we'll get you up into a VR headset, and we're doing that. I'm already working with people on those programs so that when you're ready, we'll be ready. But we're not there yet. And that's the beautiful thing about the last part of my career here that I'm in, is taking all of the knowledge. I'm going back to what you asked earlier, Tim, taking everything that I've learned, all of the past and everything that's happened in my career, and now looking to the future so that when I leave, it's in the metaverse for that next generation that will be coming along. I wrote a book several years ago called The New Generation of Cleaning. I put my granddaughter on the front page. She is the new generation of cleaning. She just turned 16 last year.
Wow. Dave, I got to ask you just hit on something there, talking about your goals for the metaverse, but I kind of want to ask you something a little deeper. You've been around 50 years. What does Dave Thompson want his legacy to be when you are done in this industry? What would you hope that your legacy is?
That I protected people's health. That early issue that has lived with, I'm sorry, I'm going to get emotional, that has lived with me for 40 years. I did that to those people. It's never left me. I can deal with what I did to myself. What's the hardest thing in life to deal with? And the last thing I want to be remembered is I took care of somebody's health. Because folks, these people rely on us as the entrepreneurs, as the managers. They rely on us to do the right thing by them. They're just trying to make a living for them and their family. And if you can do anything, it's to make sure that you protect the health of that person that's working for you. I don't care what is happening. That is the most important part of your job. And if you want to have a reputation, be known for that. And that's what I want to be known for.
Absolutely powerful. Dave, I want to thank you for coming on this month's episode, teaching us about the metaverse as a training ground, as a resource, as a tool, putting your employees first and also working with the youth. The generation is here. They are the one. They are the now. They are the future of this industry. Where can people find your website online, and as well as following you on social media channels?
Well, you can get to almost everything I do through our website, academyofcleaning.com. At the header, you'll find our live classes and our online classes. You scroll down through there, you'll find the Metaverse on there that is available to you right now. So you can go through all the courses as we talked about. You know, I think we have a YouTube channel with over 650 videos on it. I'm sure that you can get a lot of learning information there. Remember, learning is one thing. That is the why. You have to know why you're doing something before you actually can put that into skill. Training is putting the whys into skill. So basically, I look at it this way. The online classes is for learning. The in-person courses are for skills. You know, I have people that take the online course and then they come into the in-person class for the skills so they can get that hands-on. But we're doing it at all levels. And I think that's what we're talking about today, Tim. You know, you're using social media. We're using all of these avenues. Just join us.
Dave, I appreciate your time. It has been a fun conversation, eye-opening, and a lot of learning. And I'm very grateful for you to come on this program with us.
Hey, I got to ask you a question here to leave on a higher note. You ever clean a gold-plated toilet?
I can't say that I have.
Have you ever seen one?
I can't say that I have done that either.
Well, I have. And a gold-plated toilet, folks, is a lot easier to clean than you might think. All you have to have is a cotton diaper and jeweler's rouge.
Would not have guessed that. And where did you clean this? That's what I'm the where.
I got to reach back in those days because I was working in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I was at one of the oil barons' penthouse. And in his penthouse, there was a black onyx and marble, everything. But he had a gold-plated toilet, had gold fixture knobs, had gold door handle, and a Waterford crystal chandelier. There's some things in the cleaning industry you'd never forget, Tim. And there's good stuff like that.
And that is certainly one of them. A great story. That will conclude this month's edition of the Business of Cleaning podcast. Be sure to subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Also, be sure to leave us a 5-star review and your comments from everyone at Janitorial Manager, our guest, Dave Thompson. I'm Tim Clegg saying so long until next time.